What's going on, my fellow snail sufferers? It's your missile guy back with another video. Today we'll be diving deep into the Aim-9M, which was added almost 3 years ago, and I feel old, in the Sons of Attila update on September 19th, 2023. We'll be examining its performance in the current meta, how it holds up today, and sharing my thoughts on this missile. As always, I am capable of making mistakes. While I strive to keep my information as accurate as possible, if you catch anything that seems off, feel free to drop it in the comments. Your feedback helps improve and keep my videos as accurate as possible for all my viewers. And if you enjoy the video, make sure you hit that like button as it helps push my content out. With that said, everything will be timestamped below for your convenience. Let's get on with the video. When the Aim-9M first arrived in War Thunder, we witnessed a new era of missiles in air-to-air combat. The Aim-9M dropped exactly one patch after the R-73, which was a part of the La Royale update released on June 14, 2023. The Aim-9M introduced a guidance method called Seeker Suspension that essentially turns its seeker off in small intervals when it detects a rapid temperature rise over its main heat source. During these brief intervals where the seeker is inactive, the missile will use INS, or inertial navigation, to coast in the last known direction of the target. The seeker reactivates roughly after 0.2 seconds following a flare detection and reacquires the target, meaning you need more than just 1 or 2 flares to defeat this missile effectively most of the time. The best way to dodge an Aim-9M depends on its launch position, which we'll cover in a later segment. In terms of missile technology, this missile was a significant leap for the American tree, as we were previously limited to the Aim-9L, which lacked any form of IRCCM. Having a missile that could reject flares and continue tracking was a game changer. It has excelled in this role, and I believe it remains as one of the best IR missile tracking types in the game for ARB today. We also saw the addition of the low visible burner, often referred to as smokeless. While this didn't matter too much due to the missile diamonds, it still provides occasional advantages in ARB. It makes this missile rather formidable in air sim. All these factors combined create an extremely potent weapon. The Aim-9M hasn't changed much since its launch, but I've noticed its seeker is more refined now and as a result easier to spoof. At least in my experience, when the Aim-9M first came to the game, it moved like King Von. It simply didn't care about flares or how you felt about it, it was just gonna hit you. Nowadays, it's much more balanced, I'd say. You can evade this missile if you know what you're doing and maintain decent situational awareness. Despite common belief, I'm going to share a controversial opinion here. I believe in terms of ARB gameplay, 90% of the time, a seeker suspension-based missile will serve you better than one using gate whiff IRCCM. Both the R-73 and all the other missiles that use this form of IRCCM in-game have their place. They excel up close. If you're unfamiliar with how gate whiff IRCCM works, to summarize, it clamps the seeker's field of view down to an extremely small size, making it hopefully unable to see flares. The issue with this form of IRCCM stems from the fact that you're not always that close to your targets. The farther away you are from the target, the easier it is to flare as the missile can see more of its surroundings, thus having a higher chance to detect flares. Gate whiff IRCCM is of course the best for close range dogfights where those missiles excel, but suspension-based missiles shine in a completely different role: range, which just so happens to be where you're at most of the time in ARB. As mentioned, the Aim-9M performs best when you have some distance on your enemy and works exceptionally well in aircrafts that carry it. Due to its suspending seeker nature, it's extremely weak up close within a kilometer or less. 1 or 2 flares will cause it to overshoot or undershoot. However, if you use it at its optimal ranges, this missile is relentless. Using this missile in a head-on aspect isn't advisable and will usually fail. As mentioned before, it's extremely easy to have its seeker shut off and turn away to avoid it. Combine this with the lower heat signature from a frontal aspect and the missile gets fooled easily. So if you can help it, never fire in a head-on aspect. When it comes to the rear aspect, this is where I'd say it excels the second best. While an aware player can easily execute a flare curtain to evade it, the issue lies in whether they have sufficient speed and flare count to do so. Due to how it tracks, when its seeker suspends, it will attempt to follow you, but each time the seeker turns back on, it encounters another flare, eventually causing it to lock onto the flare instead. However, a player with poor situational awareness or knowledge of how to execute this maneuver will likely perish. Finally, the side aspect, where this missile absolutely shines. Side aspect shots for seeker suspension based missiles are incredibly difficult to dodge compared to any other aspect. The reason is distance between your flare dispenser and engine exhaust relative to the missile and its seeker. The exhaust is almost always exposed to the seeker, giving it the ability to easily reacquire even when it shuts off momentarily. These factors make the Aim-9M and Aim-3 incredible on their respective platforms, allowing you to use your speed to boost the missile's total range while providing the best flare resistance possible for distant shots. In my opinion, the Aim-9M and the Aim-3 are the best overall IR missiles for ARB. Yes, they are lacking in close-range dogfights due to the nature of their seeker and pull, but in return, you get a missile with good range that is extremely difficult to flare in certain scenarios. This creates an incredibly lethal missile that, when launched from a good aspect of the situation, is basically a free ticket to the hangar. However, as with every missile, you can have bad launches and instances where it gets defeated instantly. For me, those situations are way less common with seeker suspension missiles compared to gate whiff seekers. The amount of times I have a gate whiff missile just completely get flared off instantly is way too common compared to the suspension based seekers. So, what's next for American IR missiles on aircrafts? Well, the answer here is obvious: the Aim-9X. The Aim-9X has been covered on my channel, but here's a quick recap. The Aim-9X has two block variants we could receive: the Aim-9X Block 1 and the Aim-9X Block 2. And no, there is no Block 3. The Block 3 was cancelled before it ever got produced. These missiles feature upgrades over each other. While both feature thrust vectoring with an imaging infrared seeker, or IIR for short, the Block 2 is capable of lock-on after launch and therefore has mid-course updates via data link. The Aim-9X Block 1 was 360 degree capable, but it's seeker limited, meaning generally the only time it would actually achieve a 360 degree maneuver or lock is if you launched at something and it overshot or missed, allowing it to 360 and potentially reacquire. The Block 2, however, has data link, which comes with full over-the-shoulder targeting capability when needed. Currently in game, we have the Aim-9X Block 2 on the SPAA system, but when the Aim-9X does come to aircrafts, this missile will be a game changer for the US planes, just like how the Aim-9M was, as it can be widely fielded on basically every modern American vehicle in some form. This also gives America a proper dogfighting IR missile with extremely good tracking. And when I say good tracking, I mean people are not ready. And that's a whole separate topic for another video, but again, I don't think people know what they're asking for when they're asking for these new modern IR missiles. Anyways, that's all I have for you today, my fellow snail sufferers. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting that like button, leave a comment down below with your opinion, and maybe consider subscribing. It helps a ton towards my goal of 4,000 subs. And I didn't mention this yet, but my birthday is here, so I will see you guys in the next video whenever that does come out. Anyways, have a good one, y'all.